Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards here, and I am creating this gorgeous little mermaid card for the Pawsome Stamps Instagram hop, which is currently taking place. If you want to join in with that hop, you can click the link to my Instagram page below. You'll find all the details and you can find all the other stops on the hop there as well. Well worth your joining along with it because you may be in the chance of winning a gift voucher to Pawsome Stamps. So the products I'm using today are the Vitamin C stamp set and the Radiant Burst background stencil. I have gone ahead and coloured and cut out my mermaid tails and my C there. I did something a little bit different today, and in the end I didn't use these mermaid tails. I did some watercolouring with some inks. Something very much out of my comfort zone. I kind of like the way the mermaid tails worked. I'm trying to show you some shimmer here because I added a little bit of the Lawn Fawn Liquid Stardust to this, and it kind of shimmers. You can't really see it very well on camera. But in the end, I didn't use these mermaid tails. I decided they were a little bit too muted for what I wanted. I did use the C, however, and I'm really happy with the way that turned out. So next up I have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock that measures 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm going to do some ink blending on it. So I have my Scattered Straw Distress Oxide ink, and I'm going into the center of that with that ink. And the look that I'm trying to go for here is like a sunset sky. I'm not sure I really achieved. I think it turned out pretty good, but it didn't quite go how I planned it in my head. You know, when you like envisage something in your head and it looks amazing, and then you go to execute it and it didn't quite turn out how I wanted. I still like it. It just wasn't quite what I had imagined. But anyway, here we go. I'm going in with Abandoned Coral, going around that kind of circle that I've made with the scattered straw, and then blending back out with the scattered straw again. Now I'm going in with my Lumberjack Red Distress Oxide ink. This is the first time I've used this ink. It's really lovely, a beautiful bright red, and I kind of ended up covering up all of that abandoned coral with this ink. So yeah, probably didn't need to use the abandoned coral at all, but anyway, it's there. I left it all in to show you. And finally, I'm going in with some Dusty Concord. Now, this is where it kind of went a little bit wrong, and it kind of turned a little bit muddy. Thankfully, you're not going to see this, so I kind of kept it and just went with it because it gets all covered up anyway. So I am going to splatter all of this with some water droplets, and then I'm also going to pull out some white acrylic paint. It's just cheap acrylic paint that I bought at my local bookstore, and I'm going to water that down as well with a little bit of water, and then tap that all over as well to give it that kind of speckled, mottled look in the background, which I really, really like. So yeah, my ink blending, I had in mind this kind of nice sunset sky that went from purple to red to orange to yellow, and it just didn't quite pan out. But as I say, I still like the way this turned out. It still looks good, but yeah, I had an image in my head and I couldn't quite get it to work. But you win some, you lose some, and I think it's fine. I am going crazy with the splatters here, as you'll see, and it kind of looks a bit of a hot mess, but I think it looks okay once it all comes together. I hope you'll agree. So next up I have another piece of Bristol smooth cardstock. Again, it measures 5.5 by 4.25, and I've used a stitched circle to cut out the center of that. Well, not the center, it's kind of towards the upper center, if that makes sense. And now I'm pulling out that Radiant Burst background stencil, and I started to stick it down with my magnets, and then realized that actually I want to mask off the bottom of this because I just want this to look like the sun's rays coming up out of the water. And so I decided to mask the bottom off. I'm using that same Scattered Straw Distress Oxide ink again, and just blending directly onto the cardstock. I'm not doing any other ink blending on this panel. I'm just using this stencil to create these rays. I kind of wanted it to look like the rays of the sun coming forward into the front of the card. Hopefully you'll see what I mean here in a second when I start to kind of put everything together. So here's my background, here's my foreground, my little C piece is going to sit in behind that window. Here's my newly coloured mermaid tail, which I coloured in with some Copic markers. I made it a little bit brighter, a little bit bolder. I just thought that worked a bit better with my background here. And I've also gone ahead and coloured and cut out some of the little shells from the stamp set. I love these little shells. I think they would look awesome as kind of like your own pattern paper. You could make your own pattern paper from this. I think that would look really, really cool. I went ahead and stamped my sentiment, which says, always be yourself. Unless you can be a mermaid, then always be a mermaid. Of course, great sentiment. I love that saying. And now I'm just going to go ahead and stick my C piece down behind my frame with some liquid glue. And just once I've got that all kind of where I want it, I'm going to trim down the edges of that with my scissors because it just overhangs a little bit and I don't need that excess sticking out there. So I'm just trimming that down. Once that is done, I will pull in my kind of sunset background again and I'll start trying to assemble everything else and put everything else together. So I am going to start with my mermaid tail. I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put it. I haven't stuck my front piece to my back piece yet. I'm just holding it in place while I glue everything down. So here's my mermaid tail. I used a scrap of cardstock, you can see there. And I am just gluing that direct to that back panel. So eventually I'm going to put some foam tape on the front piece to pop it up a little bit, but I wanted my tail to look like it was in the background popping up out of the water. Next up are my little shells, and I'm kind of going to assemble them around the edges of this circle frame here, just a few on each side to kind of create well, it was more to bring those purple and pink colours from the mermaid tail down into the rest of the card. I just felt like it looked a little bit lost there on its own. So these purple and pink colours kind of pull everything together. And yeah, I really like these shells. I think they're really, really neat. And I could see, well, I have quite a few ideas for them, which I might be able to share in future videos, I hope. So let's see how it goes. But anyway, I am popping these shells down again, just direct onto the front of the card with some liquid glue. And once that is done, I will go ahead and attach foam tape all around the back of this front panel and attach it to the back panel, if that makes sense. So like I say, there is an Instagram hop going on at the moment for Pawsome stamps. All of the design team are involved. There are some fabulous cards there. The Instagram hop is on behalf of the new mini release. It's a new May mini release. There are some really fun stamp sets in this release, really pretty ones. There's a gorgeous mandala stamp set, which I'm absolutely in love with. There is, of course, this gorgeous vitamin C stamp set. There is a chameleon stamp set, a absolutely adorable gnome stamp set, and a couple of other little bits and pieces in there as well, I think. But well worth checking out this Instagram hop. You may be in the chance, as I say, of winning a gift voucher to Pawsome stamps. So please do go and hop along with us and check out all the other amazing cards from the design team. So that is my card complete. I just mounted it on a plain white card base and it's all done. I hope you enjoyed this one today. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And please do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back again. Thanks so much for joining me.